De díomh gach duine Tá mé ansásta dé an seog agus bheith leabhart faoi mo chuid taide faoin an áráníocht agus an chrícholóníocht. Tá mé ag feabhas mo chuid Gaeilge agus ach níl sé go bheith ag leabhart faoi mo chuid taide faoi Gaeilge, so I'm going to switch into English, but also recognizing that switching into English, recognizing the effort that my ancestors went through in learning English, but now I want to repay them by learning Irish myself. But hopefully next year I'll be able to present my research in Irish. So in relation to modes of expression such as filiocht, scéaliocht, and dance, áráníocht has been crucial in resistance to an existence outside of coloniality in Ireland. Not only has it offered a major release from the frustrations of the colonial system, but this paper underscores its capacity to resist and de-link from Anglocentrism in the domain of knowledge. So drawing on my PhD research into áráníocht as a form of epistemic disobedience, the paper presents the methodology practiced therein by putting Gaelic song, its system of orality and international decolonial scholarship into dialogue. So I'll just switch over to the first slide. So there's a lot of different international authors on decoloniality, but I will only focus on one author that is quite an influential scholar, Ramon Grosfoguel from Puerto Rico. So he talks about the decolonial epistemic turn. So the colonizing turn begins the moment that the colonizer invades the lands and the mental universe of the colonized, and decoloniality begins at that very moment of processing. And this has been something that's neglected within what Grosfoguel calls the westernized university. So decoloniality necessitates looking into domains that go beyond just the state capture, but also into knowledge, language, what it means to be, what it means to eat, so what it means to taste, what it means to sense. So you're going into things that go beyond the economy and go beyond state capture and thinking how coloniality invades our life. So Grosfoguel talks about the four genocides, epistemicides of the 16th century. So he argues that the structure of knowledge that is continually unfolding today is characterized by a structure of knowledge that positions white men from Europe at the center of knowledge, while an epistemicide, a murdering of the knowledges of the colonized, is erased from this. So I argue there's a chapter in my thesis on this process, on the construction of the anglicized university in Ireland, and I draw upon also Grosfoguel talks about the conquest of Al-Andalus as something that's unfolding at the same time as the colonization of the Americas. So they're important, and the logic of coloniality is built in this moment and then unfolds across the world, including in Ireland. And then it picks up all different types of whatever is lying around, including language, ethnicity, clothes. So we need to relate back to coloniality in Ireland in terms of language, and in terms of the racial matrix of power. So the co-naturalization of language and race. So we try to move away from the class-centric view of colonialism in Ireland and looking at a racial matrix of power that includes race, sex, language, ethnicity, and things like that. So Rosa talks about an alternative approach to racial assemblages that seeks to understand the linked modes in which racialized populations inhabit various historical, political, and economic positionalities as they orbit around whiteness in shifting yet colonially patterned ways. And on that, I think that we also need to challenge the idea of bilingualism in Ireland, in terms of incorporating the travellers, the Minker, and conceptualising Ireland as a plurilingual space. So we'll move on to the next slide here. So very important, and also reflected in the theoretical framework of this conference is cuinneagáin Smith and her indigenous research methodologies. So there's a huge amount to be said about the colonial construction and the continuations of coloniality of knowledge in the university in Ireland. We could go into the designs for Trinity College as a land grab university in the Ulster plantations, its incubation of eugenics, and as a think tank on methods of colonising. It initially exteriorised and ignored Gaelic epistemologies and led the subsequent slow inculcation of the colonised into the project of Anglo-Euro-modern epistemology. Or we could also talk about the godless colleges, which excluded theology from its curriculum, which was the main domain of thinking about what it meant to be human. So, or we could talk about Newman's racist thinking on the refinement of the Catholic in the Catholic university, and his continuation that the Irish Catholic needed to avoid primitiveness and brutish knowledge. So this ultimately gave birth to the Free State University system, while epistemic violence continued in more visceral ways in the partitioned state in the north. So the structure of epistemic racism, sexism throughout the colonial project in Ireland can be traced back to Giraldus Cambrensis' racist discourse about the Irish not being suited to consistent work, or David Hume's declaration that the Irish are too emotional to be able to produce rational philosophy, or Sigmund Freud's observation that the Irish were impervious to psychoanalysis. And then, as my thesis focuses on to the imposition of the movement to delegitimate Gaelic epistemology, referred to as folklore, a racial, patriarchal and linguistic epistemic matrix of power that continues to control the definition of what constitutes as valid knowledge and valid research methods. Francis Bacon in 1601 outlined a plan for reducing the Kingdom of Ireland to civility. So he's the so-called founder of the scientific method, and outlined a linear dualistic methodology which had no reflection on ethics, and also was a completely patriarchal understanding of the endeavour of science, excluding women from the production of knowledge. On top of this, we need to think about the antiquarian movement. So the antiquarian movement produces the absence of critical thinking and any form of dissenting theory that was erased from the folklore paradigm. And PhDs were liquidated as from theory, so that PhD students would go in, collect folklore, and not have the critical decolonial tools within their PhDs to reflect on that. So we can think about Linda cuinneagáin Smith when she thinks about the attack on traditional ways of knowing was often carried out in the name of progress and access to literacy, medical health and economic development, all of which tradition was said to impede. The Academy played a very significant role in upholding Western intellectual superiority. The disciplines of Western knowledge were used as a platform for the dismissing or denying of the existence of Indigenous knowledge, a view that still exists today in some parts of the Academy today. Thus, the first task of many researchers is to survive and do exceedingly well in education systems that deny the existence of the knowledge held by their own peoples. So if we think about the universalist paradigms of this is what cuinneagáin Smith is talking about here. In the 19th century, the scientific drive assumed that there were universal models of human society and human nature, and that societies deemed to be more primitive could contribute to science by showing the most simple, most fundamental systems of social organization. So this is assuming that the white, anglicized man or antiquarian is equipped to understand the lives of the colonized and extract the folklore from the colonized through this universal paradigm of understanding. Brendan O'Madigan, in his study of Irish song, although very revelatory and detailed about Irish song and the functions of Gaelic song, follows a functionalist and universalist paradigm. As he says that anthropologists know of no people that do not have singing, which makes singing and music one of the few universal cultural phenomena. So a shift towards a decolonial paradigm pluralizes and critiques this universalist move as a disempowering movement. Eve Tuck and cuinneagáin, in their very powerful research called R Words, Refusing Research. They talk about research in the westernized university that stockpiles examples of injustice, yet will not make an explicit commitment to social justice, produces knowledge shaped by the imperatives of the nation state while claiming neutrality and universality in knowledge production. So they also talk about what it means for Indigenous communities to refuse research and say, this is not the type of intervention that we need. We need other types of intervention. We don't want to give our pain narratives and detailed descriptions of our lives to institutions that will disempower us with that information. So I reflect on my thesis about what would it have meant in the 19th century and before that if there was Gaelic R words, i.e. what types of refusals existed when antiquarians were coming into the life worlds of Gaelic communities. I also talk about these 4 different shifts in the study of Gaelic epistemology. So you have embodied by Eugene O'Curry, the native informant. So just as cuinneagáin Smith is talking about, in order to excel and do brilliantly within the academy, the indigenized are conscripted into the academy and given awards. Huge paintings are made of them in the Royal Irish Academy, for example, and they become eulogized as godly men, even though when deep down under the surface there's something extremely colonial happening. We talk about the Heidean shift, or what I call Heidean Eurocentrism. So Heidean Eurocentrism is about trying to say that the Irish epistemology, the Gaelic epistemology, is on a par with the Anglo and on a par with Eurocentric modernity. So using the violent tools of modernity to humanize the colonized. Then you have the other shift that comes with Kinsella and O'Tuama, which is about speaking back to that power, changing the face of the Anglo white man and changing it with the colonized, uncovering the lost voices, and the lost voices are speaking back to colonial power. And then you have the post-colonial shift, which is about sabotaging all the methods, but at the same time affirm. So I think I'm looking at my brother out of some time here. Yeah.
Mario,
Yeah.
let's get us
Okay, thanks for.